Alright, so as you can probably tell, I am no longer on my desktop. I'm actually on my laptop because you cannot do 3D inside of Photoshop unless you have a certain video card level and above. Or really any video card, since mine doesn't have any video card, it just isn't capable of doing it. So I am not going to be using my laptop because that's what I have currently to work with. So there we go. So your computer might not be able to do it, so I'm sorry if it can't. There's other programs too, like there's certain features inside of After Effects that you can't do unless you have certain things, and there's certain ones in Animate that you can't do. So graphics cards do matter. All right, so just be aware of such things. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I want to make a poster, and it's just gonna be I don't even know why, but I'm just gonna do like a fish platter poster. What am I gonna say? And that will be what we're making. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna click on Create New. And I'm just going to go ahead and in print, I'm just going to choose letter and hit create and voila. So now, what I'm going to do from here is this. There's a couple different options of things that you can make and how you go about making them, right? So I'm just going to show you. You basically have one of two options. You can either try to make your geometry inside of Photoshop, or you can bring geometry in, bring a model in. When I say geometry, it's the same thing, but the mesh, you can bring that in, or you can try and make it in here. Now, you can't really make stuff in here. It has some preset stuff, and it has like two other ways of basically kind of making a model. And I'll show you what those are first, and then we're gonna go through and we'll actually start making our thing. So you can follow along if you want, but if you are following along, you're probably gonna want to start over when I actually start doing it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a new layer, and just an example, I'm just gonna draw like a stick figure dude. Okay. Ooh, he's pretty amazing. All right, so stick figure guy, and because he's fancy, he should probably have a top hat. I think that's, but he's not too fancy. He still is disgruntled with the world. Okay, there's my dude. Now you can see it's just that guy in the layer. There's no background. It's just the drawing, and it's clear behind him. Okay, I just have the white because it's easier to see. So it has presets that you can do. So if you go to 3D, and you'll know whether you can do 3D or not, because see how it says new 3D layer from file? If you can't do 3D, that'll be gray. And it was gray on my desktop, so it might be gray for you, and that just stinks for you. Anyway, so that's if you want to bring something in, but if you want to make something in here, you can do new mesh from layer, okay? And here are your options. We have postcard. I'll do it just so you see it, but it's honestly super duper lame. Let's just zoom out so you can see. It literally just puts it like on a piece of paper. I don't know why you'd want that. It's not really useful, so no thank you. Maybe you can use it for something. I don't know, but I can't. So 3D, there's that, and then there's depth map. So a depth map basically is a type of texture image. Basically, it's an image that we put over top of a model, and then what it'll do is that the image that's laid over it, where it's white, will raise the model geometry up, and where it's black will lower the model geometry. So the best example of where you would see it like in the industry are environments, particularly environments in video games. So if you're in a video game, right, if it's an outdoor scene, there'll be hills and valleys. Well, what they'll do is that the actual model of the ground is just a plane. It's just a flat model. And then what they do is over top of it, they paint white to make mountains, and then they'll paint black, and that makes it go down. And basically, white makes the model go up or down, and the plane will move up or down based off of that texture. And so they have something built into here that can kind of do something similar, but it's not that great. So yeah, but yeah. So sorry, I'm like on my bed and it's uncomfortable. So that's what depth map is, and then they have these mesh presets, which are basically what they look like. The idea is it'll take your image and then lay it over something. So a real common one people like to do is this wine bottle. The wine bottle works pretty good, I guess. It'll actually put the image on where the label would be. It doesn't look like much now, but if you actually render it out, this glass will be see-through, and it's basically made up of a couple of models. Yeah, so there's like that. There's other ones here. So let me see. You can look at them if you want. You know, like a cone, right? And it'll lay it over a cone, right? You see, and that. Okay. Um, let's see, 3D, but they're not all like watch when you do hat. It doesn't really turn out the way you want. Oh, that's better than it normally turns out, but it looks kind of weird. It doesn't. You don't really know how it's gonna lay over top of the model, so I don't highly suggest. I mean, you can use those if you want, but your results may vary. So the other one that's really neat, which we will be using momentarily here, is this. You can do this 3D extrusion from selected layer. So you click on that, and what it's going to do is what it suggests. It's going to actually take your drawing or whatever and loft it or extrude it depth-wise. So you can see, you can create kind of stuff like that. And there are options with this too. So you can, on it itself, I can change the extrusion depth here. And you can also change some other attributes, which I'm not going to get into right at the moment, but rest assured, that's what it does. Okay, but we're not going to use that right now. Let's undo. Okay, let's go back to layers. Good. Okay, so this guy is garbage. I don't really care. We're going to delete that. All right, so what I want to do is I want to do like a plaque and put like the fish on the plaque, and I'm just going to be like, eat more fish or something, right? Something like that. That's the idea of it. So I need to make the plaque. The plaque I'm going to do inside of here. So what I did is I just went on to the interwebs and I looked up wood texture and I just copy this. I'm going to copy image. Let's pretend like I have the rights to do this. And I'm just going to paste it in here, Control V. So here it is. You can see that's the only thing in the layer. And I'm going to Control plus plus. And what I want to do is I just want to cut out edges here. So it looks like, so it's like a straight and then a curve and then you'll see. So I'm going to switch my marquee to the ellipse tool. And you may or may not know this, but if you hold Alt and, so you know like normally when you click and drag, right, it starts from the top left and you drag down to the right. If you hold Alt, it actually starts drawing it from the center. And then obviously Shift does constraint. So I'm going to go to the corner here. I'm going to hold Alt and Shift. I'm going to click, and we'll cut, we'll say that much. And with that, I'm just going to hit Delete. I'm going to click and just drag that down here, try to center it, and delete. And come on, pull this guy over here, and delete. And pull this guy up here and try to center it, and delete. Okay, and I'll hit Control D to clear my selection, and voila, looks like a plaque, right? So now with this, I'm going to do that extruding thing I was talking about earlier. So I'm just going to go to 3D. And then we're going to say create 3D extrusion from selected layer. And it's going to go badoop. Now, once you go into the 3D workspace, what you're going to want to do is if you look, see how there's a bounding box, right? So that's when I have it selected, there's this box there. When you're in this mode, when I click and rotate and move like this, it's going to move the object. You probably don't want to do that, so don't do that, all right? Make sure you click off so that's not selected, and then when you click and drag, it'll rotate the entire 3D world space. Then you're rotating the camera. Okay. Now you can zoom in and out. I don't know. Does it? Whoa! I don't want to do that. But you might not find that super helpful. So the rotating makes sense. But if you need to pan or zoom in, you can use these buttons over here. Now, for some reason, your stuff doesn't look like this, and it's very likely. We've always been working in the Essentials workspace. Mine automatically switched over to 3D when I made the 3D stuff. I just knew to do it. Yours might not. So if yours doesn't show up or things look a little bit weird, just go up here and switch to the 3D workspace. Normally, it looks like this. Just make sure you're on 3D, and that way it'll put these panels here, and it might change some other stuff here. It'll also change, actually, the tool settings that you have over here as well, which will be beneficial to us. Okay, so I wish I would have named that differently, but whatever. Okay, so now we have our scene, and in our scene we have the current view, which is the camera we're looking through. We have this infinite light, which is this guy right here. So if I want to change the lighting, I can actually change, see how the shadow's moving? Change my light here, which is cool. Then we have layer 1. That's our actual object. See how it looks like a little extruded star? That's how they're representing it. And this object is made up of all these things in here. And then we have the default camera, which is apparently this view. So we have a second camera. So I could position this camera, but be working in the other camera. So whenever I click back on this, it'll go back to here, okay? So that's useful because I can have this camera set up like, well, this is my view's going to be. But while I'm working, I'm going to be doing this. And that way you just have both set up, okay? And let me see. Does it give me... Okay, view, default camera. And then I can change some of the options here. But there really isn't all that many options. Anyway, so that looks acceptable. That's about roughly where I want it. Let's do control minus minus. Okay, so I need to do a couple of things to make this work a little bit better. So first off, I'm going to actually click on my box. And actually, I'm going to click off first. I'm going to rotate to the side so we can see. Yeah, we'll rotate the side first. So just be aware, this red and this blue. Blue represents Z-axis, red represents X-axis, and then Y is green or up and down. You can actually see them over here as well. So just be aware that that's what they're trying to show. So usually if you're looking down depth, blue would be towards us, okay? I'm just going to rotate to the side so just so you can see. Now, when you click on an object, you'll see this manipulator will pop up. Now, like I said before, if I click on it, as soon as I start going like this, it starts doing things. And if I click on this, I can drag it like this and drag it like that, okay? Like, that's cool. And does this scale? Oh, that'll rotate. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of doing it that way, just because it's kind of hard to tell. Like, I'm not even sure how I... does this scale? Wait, move on X, Y, Z. Oh, I guess it tells you. That's kind of cool. Move, rotate. I don't even see how to scale. But anyway, so these manipulators do the same thing too. So the arrows allow you to move up and down and left and right. So the actual arrow part, that's what those do. And then when you hover over, let me control plus. And then these this part in here, this, I don't know what you call that. Like, it's like a half circle. There's one here and one here. These will rotate, okay? And then the one here, the little cube before, so there's like a cube, circle, and then the arrow. Then the most inner one, that is scale. So I can scale it this way, and you could do it this way as well, okay? And I could also just grab this to do the whole thing proportionate, which is probably most of the time what you're going to want, right? So I can scale, I'm going to scale it up a little bit. That's fine, all right? So that's what this manipulator does, all right? Now, what I can also do is if I select this layer here, layer 1, because I didn't name it, that's the name of this thing to begin with. So I should have named it. Where'd it go? Oh, there we go. Should have named it Plaque or something. If I have it selected here, I'm going to get the properties. And that goes for everything that you select here. So anything that I select here that's part of this will show up in there. All right, so I'm going to select layer 1. And I'm just going to change a couple of things about this, okay? Now, inside of my properties, I have different options here as well. There's actually quite a few, as you probably have already noticed, quite a few things with this, which kind of might be a lot. So I'm going to go to just the regular old main properties here, and I'm going to change the shape preset. So right now, it's just doing a straight extrusion. If you click on these, you'll see that there's different options. So I click on this one, and if I click on this one, it's got this, and there's a whole bunch of them. You can... Why? Oh, it's like a screw. It's weird. What's this one? Shear? What's shear? Oh, okay. So there's a whole bunch of different loft options, or extrude options, as they're calling it, that you can play around with. I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. We'll go with this one. What's this one look like? It's rounded. Do they have an inner one? That's bulging. I'm going to go with this one. I feel like this one makes the most sense. Okay, so I got this basic extrusion. That's going to determine, so you see it added this little like bevel-y part here that I kind of like. And then the other thing I want to change is this depth. See how like deep it is? That's a really thick plaque. So you can see over here I actually have the extrusion depth as well. So I'm just going to take this and bring this in a little bit. Like so. Okay, so now I've changed that, and then I'm going to go to this section here. And this also has the extrusion depth. It has the twist. So if I wanted to do that like twisting thing, basically gives you all the options that you have. So I can taper it so it goes out or in. I don't really want to do any of that. Oops, never mind that. Let's see. I thought I saw. Okay, it's got the same shape presets. You can play around with these. I don't really care that much. Now here is my. Oh, let's see. Is this? Oh, I see. So currently it's doing that. They have different ones for how it's cutting across. I wanted to do. Let me see. That's a straight. See, that's a round. I want to do the opposite where it's actually inwards, but I don't see an inwards one. Maybe this will do it. Yeah, we'll go with that one. Okay. So that's just controlling the crap. I'm rotating the thing. It's controlling the rotation. Oh, so let's say you do rotate it and you're not a big fan of it. Like I'm like, oh no, I didn't want to do that, right? You can select the object, and then if you go to not this or this one, but you go to this one. This is its transforms, or what do they call it in here? Coordinates. It's a weird thing, but basically you see this is the position, the rotation, and the scale. So I can change the scale to whatever I want, the position to whatever I want, and the rotation. So right now it's rotated in kind of a cockeyed angle. All I got to do is zero these guys out. So let's take this and zero that, and take this and zero that, and take this and zero that, and you can see it didn't do anything. Let's reset. I don't know why I didn't zero it out, but it should rotate it. So as I rotate this, let's say I go like, oh, come on. You see how on Z now it rotated at 100. So this is the same thing as doing it manually. See, now it did it. I don't know why I didn't update before, but it's the same thing. So whatever you see here is the same thing as what you're doing manually, but these are the actual numbers. So just realize one equals the other. Okay. And you can reset all the business here by hitting the reset button. So yay. All right. Now let's go to. Okay. So that gives me most of what I want. So it catches shadows, and it can have cast shadows. And I don't know what this is. Let's delete you. Nope, let's not delete you. I have no idea what this thing. Let's see. Reset coordinates. Just reset the whole thing. I do not know what happened there. That was really weird. Okay. All right, so we've got all that going. That's good. Now, the other thing I want to do is I actually want to control specifically the loft. You see this gray here? This gray kind of stinks because you got to remember we had that front picture that we made, and then it lofted across. Well, this part didn't exist before. The front always existed because that was just the picture. So it just made what we call click off, make sure. It made what we call like a default gray Lambert material, which is just it's usually it's like the default material, whatever 3D program you're in. I want that to not be that. So what I want to do is I want to change it. Okay. So if I go down here, you can see all the things that this is made out of. So you see there's bevel material, there's extrusion material, there's other ones. The one I want is extrusion because that's the thickness. Okay, you can actually kind of tell. Actually, it looks like bevel material might be the one I want. Well, we'll grab bevel material. I'm going to click on this, and let's try this. Does that change the color of it? Oh, nope, that is not the one I want. Okay, so it actually does the opposite. It makes it darker when you have it selected, not lighter. Most programs make it lighter. Okay, so it is extrusion. So when I select the extrusion material, I can see the material that's being applied to it up here, okay? Now, you can choose different material presets. So if you look, you can see right here, when I click on this, there's all these like preset materials, okay? And materials are the same thing that you would think of if in the real world. It's just meant to represent the physical properties of the surface and how it interacts with the light, right? So this is like a rubbery material. So it's not really shiny, but it's got a little bit of specular. It's a little bit of that. It's somewhat rough. It's got a couple scratches in it, right? It somewhat absorbs light. That's how and it's black, right? That's how I would describe this. As opposed to the front of this phone, which is very shiny, right? So it's like a glass material. It's very smooth. It's slick, if you look at my shirt, right? It's not shiny at all. It's got a little bit of bumpiness to it. Those are like properties on top of the model that is how the surface of it interacts with the light. And these are basically just a bunch of pre-made ones. And if you hover over them, they should highlight, like this will say fabric, leather. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to where it says this one's like a, what's it say it is, like wood, redwood, right? So there's other ones here too, but that one I think was the closest to wood. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the redwood and click off. Click off. And I can adjust properties of it here. So I can adjust its roughness, which is going to make it less shiny. Its height, which probably won't do anything. I don't know it has a height map attached to it. Opacity, it's not transparent at all. Refraction, density. Basically, these are different things about the material. Whether it's translucent, right? So like wax is translucent. Yeah, you get the idea. Now, I might want to change the color of it, but what you'll notice is, because if you see it's like not quite the right color. Now, with some of the materials, let's click back on the extrusion material. Some of the materials, you click the base color, and it will change the color because they're kind of a solid color. This one, though, that's not working. And the reason why is that it's not a color that's driving this. It's actually an image. So if I hover over this, you'll see it actually shows the picture that's on the material itself. So it's not just a flat color on the material. It's actually an image. So I'm going to click on that, and I'll click Edit Texture. And it's going to show me the texture here. And you see these like lines? Those are actually UVs. Let's go here. So I'm going to click on layers. Those are actually the UVs of the model, so don't worry about that. But that's what that is. The texture is just the... if I turn these off, will that? No. The textures are just the lines themselves. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and add an adjustment layer. So right click, and we'll do hue saturation. And I want to make this closer to the brown that's here. And if you look, you can see my brown is much more kind of yellowish. Well, this one's very red. So I'm going to go ahead and we will shift this. Let me see, where was it originally here? We're going to shift it towards the yellow a little bit. Say, and let's take the lightness down a little too. It's kind of hard because I can't really. We'll call that good enough. All right. Now, when I'm happy and I know it, got my hands, and then you see there's a little asterisk, that means it's not saved. So we're going to go ahead and save this, Control S, and then I can close out of it. As soon as you close out of it, it'll automatically update. Because basically what it is that there's an image that's being laid over top of this extrusion part. And what we did is we just saved that image, and then we closed out of it. And the closing out didn't matter, but when we saved it, it overrode it. And so now the image that's on there is the one that we did. Now, what you could do is save it, look to see how it looks, and if you're happy with it, if you're not happy with it, you could just go back and make some changes, save it, and look, and back and forth. But I said, whatever, I'm just closing right out of it. But you don't have to close out of it. I just didn't want to have a bunch of windows and panels and things like that, being opened up. Okay, so let's look at let's go back to my 3D layers and click on default camera again. All right, so that's somewhat acceptable. Let's control minus. All right. So let me see. I want to see if there's anything else with this that I wanted to do to show you before this video, because it's kind of getting long. You can play around with a lot of this other stuff here. The problem is it's kind of convoluted. Now, if you know 3D, then you understand these elements, like what all these different things mean. There's quite a bit to 3D. But if you knew 3D, you probably wouldn't use this. So like it's kind of a weird. But if you know like Photoshop, you probably don't know 3D, and then you would want to use this, but then you don't have enough knowledge to kind of learn this, because there's a lot that goes into it that I don't have the time to cover all of it. But you could try playing around with some of these different like options, and like orthographic camera probably doesn't mean anything to you. That just means it's a flat camera with no perspective. Like there's things like that, But some of these like depth of field you probably know, right? Let's see. And even infinite light, that's like a directional light that goes in one direction. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to call that good as far as this is concerned. And then the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the fish, and then we're going to make some adjustments onto that fish, and we're going to position it and place it, and it'll be good. Actually, before I even do that, I'm just going to save this real quick so we don't lose what we did. and we'll just call this 3D poster. Okay. All right. And then we'll go ahead and I'm gonna stop this video, and then the next one we'll put the fish in.